Good morning. AI has the potential to disrupt almost every part of the WordPress ecosystem, whether you're a end user, a freelancer, an agency, or you develop WordPress themes, or you develop WordPress plugins. AI is probably going to impact your world. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to sit down with some of the top WordPress minds to find out whether they think AI is going to lead us over the next few years. So this week, I've got Chris Lema. In a few weeks, I'm slated to sit down with Matt Mullenweg, the founder of WordPress as well. So subscribe if you want to see that interview. Chris Lema has probably got the best 360 view on the WordPress market than anyone else out there. He's recently run the product acquisition strategy at Liquid Web, so he fully understands the WordPress market and he fully understands how AI might interact and disrupt it. So there's some amazing content in this interview. There's some real gold dust in here. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end for a quick catch up. So I just want to focus in on WordPress, because it seems like this is impacting, we're kind of right at the start of this impacting WordPress and the ecosystem. So I kind of want to look at it from all angles, if that's possible. So from end users through freelancers, agencies, plugin devs and theme developers. And then also maybe think a bit about how open source and AI kind of a good fit. 'Cause I saw Matt put something out the other day saying it's a big opportunity for WordPress, which I agree with, actually. But so can we, do you have a handle on where we're at? So if you said, right, here we are today, what does that look like for you in terms of AI and WordPress and where we're at?
Oh yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity. The thing to understand about specifically the engines that are causing the stir, right? The chat GBTs of the world, is they're not knowledge engines. They don't have a repository to go look up an answer and give you a credible answer. That's not what they're doing. They're statistical engines. And statistical engines mean they look at what is likely the next syllable, the next word, the next phrase, the next whatever. Well, when it comes to coding, right, this is a fantastic opportunity, because what it's saying is we've looked at all the, and again, WordPress is open source, right? So you're saying, all the code that is available right now, we don't know for certain how much code was in the training set, but from initial appearances, it looks like it can access all of the data from a Wikipedia and also all the data from a GitHub. And if an engine has been trained on statistically all the different data sets, then when you go, hey, what's wrong with this line of code? And they're like, well, I can look up and I can tell you how I would adjust this. And that's a place where the statistical dynamics of a training data set become really powerful. So I think WordPress, because of its open source nature, also because so much of WordPress is either code, which is open sourced, or it's content, which again, this model has been trained dramatically for content. WordPress sitting right at the center of like, wow, we can really use this. Let's go to work.
Yeah. I'll come back to content because I think that's really interesting, especially with how much you can produce so quickly. And I've been using it like an intern in the last month, where I've created these really complex long form documents, which I've never been able to do before, co-written with ChatGPT. It's been incredible. It's been a huge release, really, to be able to just go off and create stuff. It's amazing.
That's right.
But in terms of that, if we just took that plugin thing, so once you make something much easier to create, so anyone can potentially go off and create their own plugins in, well, you can do it now, but you kind of, it's still a bit kind of clunky. But let's say a year's time, anyone can go and build their own plugins. What does that do to the existing ecosystem and market?
Okay, so
because I did this video.
Let me push in for just a second, because that is the entire premise of WordPress. If you go back, we're now on what, 20 years, 18, 19 years, something like that. If you go back, everything was closed source. Nobody could write code. Nobody who didn't know anything could ever create anything like a plugin. That just wasn't the case. You couldn't do it. What made WordPress powerful was it came with 2 plugins, right? And one of those plugins was called Hello Dolly. And we're talking about now something that we've forgotten, right? Hello Dolly was left in place not because people thought, wow, you know what you're going to want is Hello Dolly quotes all over your website. It was dropped in and left in so that other people could go, well, let me look at all this code, let me leverage it, learn it, and build my own plugin. Almost every plugin developer who started writing plugins had never written a plugin before. One of the most popular plugins out there is Gravity Forms. The guys wrote it in a weekend, right? And they wrote it in a weekend not knowing anything about what they were going to write with the code. This wasn't, and these are smart guys, right? Alex is a great developer, but
yeah,
honest God didn't know what he was doing. And then they spent years refining the spaghetti code that used to be there. So the fact that we're now saying, well, now ChatGPT makes writing a plugin easier. You're like, actually, WordPress makes writing a plugin easier. The whole point was allowing people who pretty much weren't programmers. And the first 10 years of WordPress, every single person who was building a plugin, you know iThemes, right? Which is now changed the name. And it was run by Corey Miller. Corey Miller never raised his hand and said, I write code. But Corey Miller was able to gather a couple people, gather some bits, program some stuff, and all of a sudden be like, oh, here's a plugin that does this, and here's a plugin that does that. Eventually became Backup Buddy, right? And things took off. The themes that people wrote, right? From Alex King to Corey Miller to all sorts of folks. These were all people who weren't PhDs in computer science who needed that history to be able to write stuff. So ChatGPT continues to do what WordPress started doing from the beginning, which was this notion of democratization, this notion of saying anybody can get involved, right? And it was not just on the content side of it, it was on the bits, right? The code and the open source dynamic of that. So I think we are literally just progressing down a path we've already cleaned up. This is paving over the same road that we dug out. It's not new. It's not a left turn. It's not a right turn. It's just, hey, we're taking a second pass on the track.
And do you think I agree with all that? Do you think the value chain changes because of making it easier to make these plugins? What does that mean in terms of the market and the commercial market for WordPress plugins?
I think
where's the value in that process?
Yep. I think people are regularly going to have a debate over that, right? Because insiders who've been here long enough, who've built up stuff, are going to look at the new guys and they're going to say, wait, that's not handwritten code. That's computer generated code. And it'll shock you to discover that in the room where people were writing the first bits of assembly, they looked at the guys, right? Or in the first people that were writing C, they looked at the guys that had written assembly and they said, look at how much faster it is because we have a compiler. And the assembler guys were like, no, that's not real coding. We did it by hand. And then the guys who wrote Visual Basic were showing off what they could do. And look at this is UI and da-da-da. And the guys that wrote C are like, well, that's not real programming because, you have automatic garbage collection. The entirety of computing is one generation in the room showing the new things they could do while the other generation says that's not real programming. And trust me when I tell you, when WordPress started out and people using PHP and they're creating code and other people are going, that's not real programming. That's like HTML with a little bit of scripting. That's not real. You need to build object-oriented classes and libraries.
Yeah.
So this is a story that never ends.
So if I gave you $500,000 today and said, I want you to build me a plugin business. Yeah. Do you have a sense of where you'd invest that money? What would you do?
Yeah, of course.
What would you do?
I think the issue is not the amount of money you give me, and it's not building a plugin business. Those are not the issues. The issue is, where do people have the hardest time? Because if I'm going to run a business, the business part of it requires that I have a broad customer base and then be able to help that customer base. Now, that said, the text generative dynamics of ChatGPT means I would be all in on building a plugin that helps you write more, better, faster. So you just said, right? Hey, I've been using it as an intern and I have been writing longer, more complex, co-writing longer, more complex articles than ever before, right? Scripts, even, video scripts and everything else, questions, interview. And so I would build a plugin business that essentially just does that, right? That says, okay, let's build a plugin that sits inside, and one plugin is going to be the outline generator. I'm going to build this little plugin, and all it does is generate outlines for your articles. The next is going to look at all your existing articles, and it's going to learn your tone, right, as an author. And so it's going to shape language, even though it's generated by ChatGPT, it's going to shape it towards your tone, your approach, your length of words, etc. I'm going to build another one that's going to go find all the keyword that's, because now we're starting to use plugins, which allows us to go outside of a trained data set and go look at other real-time sources. So I would write something that goes out, pulls that data, does an integration to any of the tools that are out there, and brings back information for, say, the briefs. And so you go, oh, I've trained my voice. I have done the research for briefs. I have an outline generator, and now it produces enough that then I come in as a human and I go, okay, let me edit that. Let me tweak that. Let me add this story and hit publish. I'd build 2 or 3 plugins, and actually, let's be clear. I'd have ChatGPT build those 2 or 3 plugins, and then
sure.
Go from there.
And do you have a sense of, let's go into content quickly then.
Yeah.
So it feels like we're coming from a Google orientated world, and they may still dominate with Bard and whatever, to a different model. So how do you think that's going to, and I've seen pessimists say things like, well, the web's just going to be full of AI generated content. And it feels like we're coming from maybe a world which is content marketing content to an AI generated sort of content. In terms of content, if you were advising somebody that was going after sort of creating content, what strategies would you, in this new AI world, would you sort of advise?
Well, again, the first thing you're catching a theme, hopefully, right? Which is the people waving their hands and going, oh, the world's about to change into a whatever. That's exactly what content marketing did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We had 1/10 the content on the web, and then people started going, you need to write stuff. They said write it for humans, but what they taught was how to write it for Google and SEO and everything else. And then we ended up with a world filled with more content than we could ever read in our lifetime. And now we're saying that we're worried at that. You're like, guys, we're already there. Like so a lot of times everything people say it's about to happen, my first response is it's already happened, and it's been happening for years. So what I will say in this dynamic, right, is yes, we have the potential for a lot of poorly written, non-scientific, less emotional content to be produced by an engine. We had that before with spinners and other tools that would generate 16 versions of the same article different ways, so we could put them on 16 different websites, etc. If you treat the engine as a content producer, I think you're going to end up with low scoring content that doesn't surface up and that people don't backlink to, they don't react to, they don't want to read in the search results, and it'll drop down. If you take it as an intern and you let it write the first version of things, and then you react to it, like, well, if I asked an intern to write me an article on AI, I would go, wow, this is good, and you got some good facts. And then I'd be like, but you didn't tell the story. So now let's go back and craft it in the story. And also, this example's incorrect. And so I would rewrite that part. And by the time I have something done, I'm like, oh, I didn't start from scratch, right? And which, by the way, when we talk about content, the biggest fear, having trained and worked with thousands of people on content, the biggest fear they have is staring at a blank page.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And this eliminates that, right? It gives you a jumping off point.
And what do you think there's a risk, though, that we'll have one interface rather than at the moment where Google links us off to other websites? In the future, there may not be, it'll just consume all the content. So actually it'll give us the single truth in essence. So we'll go to this interface, whatever it is, ask it, and it'll just tell us the answer. And we will never see our content as content creators will never get surfaced in the future.
Yeah. If we were humans that functioned okay with that, I think that would be a risk. But here's what I know. Expedia was out there before any other travel agency site, and it didn't stop any other travel agency site or travel-oriented site, because we were like, well, where else can I look?
Yeah.
Is there another trip? Is there another deal? Is there another thing? We don't always just Google for fact. I mean, look, I told a buddy of mine that he could build an AI engine to generate basketball articles that would be released within a minute of the game ending.
Okay.
And because most of these articles are just straight up data sets. The article is just like, this team played this team at this quarter. It was this score. This guy did this. You know when I had that conversation? 11 years ago.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because the content for those game surveys is really simple and boring, right? But that hasn't stopped 16 ESPN TV shows and an entire website filled with data. Like, we aren't looking for the facts, or that's not the sum total of what we're looking for. We want to know the intrigue, the story behind the story, the meta narrative, and all of that is not going to come back to just one portal where I type in something and I get a response. So I don't think we are going to be satisfied with that possibility. It's not that it can't happen. It's just that we're going to go, okay, that's the one story, but what's the story behind the story? Or what's the and that's why we keep looking for other places of content and other versions of the story.
Yeah. Well, that's a really optimistic view on it. I really hope so. My worry is because at the moment it's just kind of in the sidebar, isn't it, of Bing, for example. But my worry is that at some point that will become the main interface that we interact with.
I get it, but
the brain.
That only works if you are satisfied with one answer. So you have to ask yourself, if I'm satisfied with one answer,
yeah,
why is there traffic on Netflix? We go, hey, Brooke Shields has a new story, and you're like, I can just Google and get Wikipedia, and I can read an article on Brooke Shields and be done. And you're like, no. That's not enough. The dynamic of why I watch a documentary, or why I read a magazine, or why I do anything is because of me, not because of the data source. So it's not that I don't think there'll be a website where you can ask it anything and it gives you something back. I mean, that is essentially what the web was.
Yeah.
Right? It's us saying, no, I want to read a magazine.
Yeah.
I want to read a book. I want to watch a movie. I want to see a documentary, because our insatiable desire to get more, to get behind the scenes, to get all the rest.
Cool. Just a few more questions if you've got time. So if you were going to forecast like a year, 2 years ahead, where do you think it's AI is going to be most disruptive to the WordPress ecosystem? When we look at kind of freelancers, agencies, plugin devs, themes devs, the community, where do you think it's going to impact it most?
I think the first place where it hits is all around content.
Okay.
I think we will see a bunch of prompt-based content generative pieces, and I think that if you're building websites for people, I don't think that's a big deal. But if you've been a content marketer, content strategist, freelancer who's helping with that, I think we're going to go through that phase where customers think, I'll just do it myself, right? And you're like, right, but you need the smart brain behind assessing what's been output so that we can help you, right? And then, I mean, I remember when guys were like, I'm going to build my own website, and they bought a Flash website from a marketplace, and they put their text into the text areas, and they had a new Flash website, and it looked awesome, and Google could no longer track what it was, and they dropped, and they were on now, I went from page 1 to page 18, and you're like, right, because you made a silly mistake. I think we're going to go through that phase, right? Where I think there are going to be customers who think, I don't need any of these people. And I think that's going to be the nature of the beast there, right? So yeah. I think the content people will be disrupted first. I think I saw a lot of people talking about a couple months ago about how ChatGPT can be used to give me, the best articles on this, that, and you're like, whoa, this training data set stopped a year and a half ago. Like, I wouldn't trust it to tell me what the keywords are for a particular genre. Yeah. But I think people are going to do it. I think people are going to ask it. So I think all the SEO, all the content, I think that'll get hit first. I think there are, we're already disrupting. The WordPress space is already disrupting themes and how that's working, right? Yeah. And so I don't think I don't think AI is gonna mess with that initially, because we're changing the nature of that game already. I think content hits first, and then I think where it gets interesting is when you start asking the agencies, the larger agencies, about strategy, about assessment, about looking at, a website in the context of other websites and understanding who are the competitors and what are they doing and how long have they done this stuff. And that's where you get a research assistant that comes alongside and you can produce better strategy. And so I think they will elevate their game in a way they previously couldn't.
I guess there's a whole area here, which is there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff which we don't know about yet, which is going to be created, which is just a known unknown, right? There's going to be a huge explosion of stuff which is going to change very quickly. And there's going to be value in that space somehow. We don't know what that looks like yet.
Imagine that you're a company that has a large data set yourself, right? So you have hundreds of articles.
Yeah.
And now you train an engine to read your articles, not trained on a big data set, but trained on your content. And so now this changes the nature of how you do support.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now you just give it a chat interface. And I mean, the number of plugin product companies that spend a massive amount of their money on support, right? I mean, Yoast SEO is a plugin that has a premium version, but 95+% of its customer base uses it for free. Yet, I would venture to say 70% of its staff are support. So you have a 70% cost of a business that's supporting a 95% free customer base. You don't think my first thought is read every article that we have, watch every video we have, and build yourself a support prompt or engine that handles all this. And now I can take these people and put them into lots of other things that are revenue producing instead of cost bearing. So it changes the nature of the business architecture itself, right? The staffing, the cost models, everything changes.
Yeah. And do you think, two more questions probably, that's it. Do you think there's any external threat to WordPress over AI, like something else coming into this space and just blowing it away that we haven't seen before?
I have long held that the only threat to WordPress is WordPress. That the nature of an external force, we have such a footprint that shy of us doing something really harmful to ourselves, it would be very hard for something else to come and unseat the throne. The one dynamic, right, that you hold out, you go, look, in all cases, in all history, this is how this plays out, et cetera. But the one place is when someone changes the rules of the game, right? And when Apple said, we're just not supporting Flash, right? Yeah. Flash went from 98% market, right, footprint. It went down. I mean, it still took 20 years to finally kill it, but it just went drop. So if there was an issue where there's a new engine, so let's just imagine for a second, a new search engine. It's not one of the existing ones. It's not Google. It's not Microsoft. It's a new engine, and the new engine says, well, what I care about is how quickly you get me an answer, and anything less than, anything that takes longer than 0.2 seconds is bloat. If the rules of that thing change and it becomes powerful and popular, then all of a sudden, all of our websites aren't showing up in something. Now, that said, one could submit that that's exactly what Google did years ago, and our websites did fine. And so, yes, there are ways you can make a WordPress site slow, but you can also make it fast. So I'm not too worried of something coming and completely derailing WordPress, except for WordPress. Like, we have, as a community, we have our own way to eat our young and to shoot ourselves in the foot, and that is the thing I'd worry more about than any external factor coming in and being a threat.
Yeah, cool. Right, last question. Thank you. Is there any one application of AI that's got you most excited that you've actually used yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Midjourney is a image creator from a prompt. And what's really fun is you can get ChatGPT trained up to give you a prompt. So I went to ChatGPT and taught it the 10 categories of data that I wanted that I would use in a prompt. And so I said, hey, if we're taking a photo of an office, I want lighting, I want setting, I want this. And I said, ChatGPT, give me a table of this data for an office, right? And it generated a bunch of this stuff. Then I took each row and dropped it into Midjourney, which is something that generates art from scratch, right? And it generated amazing images. So let me be clear, I pay monthly for Shutterstock for stock images for blog posts, right? I don't need to do that.
I mean, that business is going to be disrupted, right?
It's going to be disrupted, right?
I haven't looked at their share price, but you got to think that
short it now, right? Like every image library, right? If you learn how to use Midjourney and you have the ability to get it done fast enough and you know the prompts on it, I have a good buddy of mine, Sean Hesketh, the founder of WP 101. I know his aesthetic. I know what he likes, whatever. So I went into Midjourney and he's been talking about redoing his office. And I go put in the prompts. And the first image I get, he's like, oh my God, that's almost perfect. That's almost perfect. I want you didn't put the record player and the speakers in. And I'm like, okay. So I go back and I redo it and I get another image and I send it to him and he's like, that's it. That's what I want. And there's a piece of artwork in the image. And Sean's like, that must be an image that they found somewhere else. So he reverse searches it on Google. Doesn't exist. The engine generated a new piece of art that my friend loves so much that he's now talking to another company to potentially make it for him, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's I am amazed by that. I'm amazed by what would it mean if I could generate images for different parts of an article, for whatever. There's another engine out there that's doing work on generating video.
Yeah. The runway thing.
Yeah. And there's another one that's generating scripts for movies. I mean, the number of tools out there is insane. And we're at the very beginning. But Midjourney for me has been the one that I like. ChatGPT I was very comfortable with.
Yeah.
I knew how it worked. I knew what it was doing. I knew where to trust it and where not to. But Midjourney blew my mind away.
I think Midjourney for me is when the light bulb went off properly, I think.
Yeah.
Because you could see it and you could understand what this thing was doing. It's just bonkers crazy. And do you think like a AI native at the moment? So when you think of a task, is your first thought AI now yet? Or do you still do it the old fashioned way first?
No. I inside our company, I don't know what it was, 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. At the early part of this year, I wrote them an article on how to use this. Then I showed them in a video how to train it. Then we started putting it into play and people were like, oh my God. I mean, my buddy Sean was writing a script for a video. He wrote a script, then he trained ChatGPT to write scripts the way he writes them, which I showed him. This is how you train an engine first.
Yeah.
We do all this. Then he output the script, sent me both and was like, am I getting fired? Right? Like this engine wrote just as good as I did. And I'm like, yeah, but you trained it. So
yeah.
So no, you're not getting fired. You're like, learn to use it. So we're trying on several orgs, we're trying to get people to use it again as an intern, but use it right away. So I'm writing an ebook right now, and I wrote my own outline, and then I went back and said, okay, refine this outline. And they're like, oh, they made 2 little tweaks. I'm like, that's good. I like that. I wrote press releases, and then I wrote, hey, punch this up, give it more energy. It's still my content, but it rewrote the thing, made it sound a little more exciting, changed the structure of the sentences a little better. And I'm like, that's what a statistical engine is for.
Yeah, right.
I'm not asking it for new knowledge. I'm asking it to make what I'm doing better. And
it wrote these interview questions for you, look. Pretty good, hey. I think there was some amazing stuff in there. So huge thank you to Chris for his time. I hope you found some value in that. If you did, if you can hit the like now, it would be amazing, because it really does help spread the word of the video. And also, every time you do hit that like button, our cats get a little treat. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Remember, I'm interviewing Matt Mullenweg, fingers crossed, in a few weeks' time, so you'll see that one as well. Hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Keep well, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.